Europeans set in motion a system of slavery that was predicated on the idea that certain people were marked as enslavable.
The first revolt in 66 provoked the siege of Jerusalem, followed by the destruction of its temple. The only wall of the enclosure that survived would become known as the Wailing Wall. During the second revolt, the city was razed and a great part of the population slaughtered. This time, the Jews were forbidden a safe passage to Judea. Many migrate to Galilee and across the empire. Towards the end of the Roman Empire, Christianity was the dominant religion and Jerusalem a place of pilgrimage. The largely well-to-do Jewish community in the Mediterranean basin began to be persecuted, especially in the Visigoth and Byzantine empires. In the 7th century, following the birth of Islam, begins an Arab conquest. In some cases, Jews support the conquest in the hope of better conditions. They are tolerated by the Arabs and only polytheistic peoples are forcibly converted. In Jerusalem, the Dome of the Rock is built, making the city holy to the 3 monotheistic religions. The Arabs arrive in the Iberian Peninsula, which they call Al-Andalus. Here, 5% of the population is Jewish, ushering in a golden age of culture. Meanwhile in Europe, Jews are not only tolerated as people who witnessed times before Christ, but also as the sole traders between Catholics and Muslims. This allows Jews to gradually establish themselves in all of Western Europe. The Seljuk Turks, a Central Asian people, began their expansion and reached Jerusalem. They persecute Christians and forbid pilgrimages to the city. In response, Christians in Europe organized crusades, military and religious expeditions to the Holy City. Along the way, they massacred Jewish communities who they now consider a deicide people who killed Jesus Christ. In 1347, Genoese merchant boats from Kaffa helped spread the Black Death. In 5 years, the disease wreaks havoc in Europe, killing almost half its population. A rumor spreads accusing Jews of poisoning wells, resulting in their persecution mainly along the Rhine and Rhone region and their eventual expulsion. In Spain, the Reconquista ends. The Catholic kings serve an ultimatum to the Jews to either convert or leave. The majority who choose to leave settle along the Mediterranean coast, mainly in the Ottoman Empire, where they are welcomed.
Perhaps many of you here are not acquainted with the subject of slavery. Let us imagine a child to have been born of slave parents. Poor, unfortunate child. From that very day, his birthday, he is considered and classed as a brute. From that very day, he becomes property, the property of a master who may sell him and do with him what he pleases.
The reality of our historical past, particularly with regard to slavery, is a hideous legacy of one of history's most tragic events, the birth of the Africa to America transatlantic slave trade. During this period, Spain was an enormous global power. Spanish colonies have a much broader history than their British, French, Dutch, or Portuguese counterparts. The Spanish involvement in the trade was so great, it impacted all other European countries involved in the trade. The papal bull Romanus Pontifex, 1455, is an important example of the papacy's claim to spiritual lordship of the whole world.
Stone monuments, cranial analysis, ancient descriptions, DNA, and first-hand accounts all point to an unavoidable truth that the Spanish and Portuguese brews were black. As the following reference reads, and it reads, on entering Portugal from Spain, the traveler is forcibly struck with the difference between the two countries. The dark eyes, the black hair, and brown complexion are the only traits of resemblance between the Portuguese and Spaniards. The Portuguese have thick lips, noses something of the Negro form, black and often curly hair, and their figures, and above all, their hands, show signs of the mixed blood. In Spain, the people, in spite of their dark complexion and eyes, have at least a European look. On entering Portugal, the traveler is, however, agreeably surprised by finding himself among a more cultivated people. And the next reference reads, and it reads, King John II in 1492 expelled all the Jews to the island of St. Thomas, which had been discovered in 1471, and to other Portuguese settlements on the continent of Africa. And from these banished Jews, the Black Portuguese, or the Negro Portuguese, as they are called, and the Jews in Luango, who are despised even by the very Negroes, are descended. In other words, the brews that were sent to the west coast of Africa were descended from Negroes. And the next reference reads, Jews, the name given to the Hebrews after their return from their captivity in Babylon. They are a religious people fond of home and their children, shrewd in money matters and intellectual. In form and feature, they are short with dark hair and eyes, a swarthy complexion, full lips, and a characteristic nose. And the next reference reads, are Jews white like you? No, replied I, rather more like yourself, very dark. And the next reference reads, and reads, thus the black color is found not only in individuals as the Black Jews of Portugal, but in the tribes as the Baqueires on the Red Sea, whose hair and character are perfectly Semitic. And now let's take a look at the Baqueires people who have the same black color found in the Jews of Portugal. And yes, as you can see, they are a black Negro people. And on to our next reference, which reads, he was of a middle size. He had good features in his face, the skin somewhat black curly hair, long eyebrows, and of the same color, so that one might easily know by his looks that he was descended from Portuguese Jews. And the next reference reads, the Spanish Jew is always dark complexion. And another reference reads, "'Tis also a vulgar error that the Jews are all black, for this is only true of the Portuguese Jews, who marrying always among one another, beget children like themselves, and consequently the swarthiness of their complexion is entailed upon their whole race, even in the northern regions." It's important to note that not only do old references confirm Spanish and Portuguese brews are black, we also have supporting archaeological evidence such as cranial analysis performed on skulls of ancient Spanish and Portuguese brews. Evidence identifies Spanish and Portuguese brew skulls as dolichocephalic, which is the description of the Negro skull today. As the following reference reads, and it reads, Anthropologists are accustomed to dividing it into two parts well distinguished, the dolichocephalic and the brachiocephalic. To the first type, which is the dolichocephalic, belong the Sephardim Jews, the Spanish and Portuguese Brews, even the larger part of the Jews of Italy and southern France. An avalanche of evidence makes the description of Spanish and Portuguese brews being black a far-going conclusion. These brews were the same brews that were taken by King Nebuchadnezzar into Spain in roughly 597 BC. Another group of captive nobles from Jerusalem were taken in 70 AD, the day General Titus burned the city of Jerusalem to the ground.
The Poland-Lithuania Commonwealth becomes a haven for Jews from Western Europe due to favorable migration policies. In the 17th century, the region hosts more than 300,000, or about half of the Jews in the world. But everything changed in 1648 with the revolt of the Cossacks' Ukrainian presence against the nobility and the Jews. They accused the Jews of having a privileged relationship with those in power. More than 100,000 Jewish people are killed or flee the region. The Jewish community is divided, and 900,000 of them find themselves in the Russian Empire, where they are not welcome.
Thank you, Excellency. Always glad to serve. Come on, get inside. This is 6 yet. It's almost. Get in.
Locking up time. The money hasn't come yet.
It's a long road from Hamburg. It'll be here in the morning.
Yes, but if anything should happen, all that money, 10,000 gulden.
Eh? So much this journey?
7,000 in one lump from Prince Lowenstein's agent, and then all the small sums, 10,000 at least.
The roads are dangerous. Tomorrow morning it'll be here. We should be thankful my business is good, eh?
Nearly 1,000 gulden since morning. Mama.
Eh?
That agent. Did you notice him?
What?
There he sat, sly and smiling, planning to rob this poor old Jew Rothschild. And here I was, so innocent, a little child, a baby, in fact. And there was that fine old clock that his master had sent him to bargain for.
Yes.
And when at last I let him have it for less money than it cost me, I could see in his eyes how pleased he was that he got the better of this little baby.
Sold it under cost?
A spat to catch a mackerel, Mama. He thinks he's so clever, and I'm so stupid. Always make them think they're clever. Mama!
Eh?
I've been robbed!
Maya!
Bad! A whole gulden! A dead loss! Bad!
Are you sure? Sometimes they're only cracked. You're right, Maya. Who gave it you? Could it be that?
That agent. And I gave him some wine, too. Some of the good wine.
Maya, he'll come again.
Yes. He'll come again. And then, Mama, I catch my mackerel.
Well, no one can ever say you don't deal fairly with your customers, Maya.
It pays in the end, Mama.
Now finish your accounts and I'll lay the supper.
All right, Mama.